3-awn is a perennial native plant with each seed having 3 awns pointing in opposite directions. It has a distinct reddish color prior to dormancy. 3-awn is undesirable to livestock because of its wiry texture, and too much of this plant in a pasture may be a sign of poor range management. Buffalo grass is one of the major short grasses of the shortgrass prairie, which has a hairy visual appearance. It grows in patches with above-ground stolons or runners which spread the patch of grass. This is a low-producing grass, but high-quality forage for livestock. If this grass is heavily grazed, it will also spread wildly. Buffalo grass is a warm-season grass that can survive with very little moisture. It is also commonly used as a lawn grass. Tall dropseed is a clump grass with wiry texture. When this grass gets tall, its long leaves lay over into an arch. It has characteristic seed heads where the seed never fully emerges from the sheath, contrary to its name. Tall dropseed is fair forage value for livestock when young, but it's not very desirable. Blue grama is the second of the major short grasses which make up the shortgrass prairie. The other is buffalo grass. Characteristically, it has short, curly, fine leaves with a couple seed heads to one stem. The seed heads are densely packed and comb-shaped on one side of the stem and look like eyelashes. Blue grama spreads slowly because of its short, below-ground rhizomes. This warm-season grass is highly nutritious because of its leafiness, but there is not much forage available with this grass. It is great for high-traffic areas to aid in erosion control, as well as great in droughty climates. Needle and thread is a cool-season bunch grass, which provides adequate forage before the seed stalks appear. Characteristically, it has small needles with long awns. It's a smaller grass with tall awns. This grass will increase under grazing pressure. Green needlegrass is a loose bunch grass typically found in lower areas of a pasture with high moisture. The needles are opposite of its height. Green needle has short needles, but it is tall in height. It has a robust stem and is more palatable and desirable than needle and thread. Western wheatgrass is an early cool-season native range grass found largely in western South Dakota but does grow across the state. It contains small seed heads attached to seed stalks on alternating sides. Western wheatgrass spreads by strong rhizomes. It is easily identifiable with its strong blue color in the spring. When the plant is green, it has flat leaves which feel smooth from base to tip. This highly desirable grass is high in protein before seeding out, but once seeded out, it loses protein and nutritional value fast. Western wheatgrass is the South Dakota state grass. Prairie sandweed is one of the major plant species in the Nebraska sandhills and is used widely for erosion control on slopes. This native warm-season perennial is fair forage in South Dakota but desirable in Nebraska. Because prairie sandweed is very rhizomatous, a large area of this grass could be one plant. Characteristically, the seed panicles appear about a 15 to 20 degree angle, and when a leaf is pulled apart, small hairs will appear. Little bluestem is a bunch grass that often grows on drier soils and typically on slopes. It contains many seed stalks which are fuzzy and fluffy and scattered up the stem. Livestock typically graze the lower base leaves, but leave the middle section of the plant, which often gives the impression that it is not grazed. Big bluestem is one of the main grasses to manage your range or pasture for. It has lots of broad leaves producing a large amount of forage, which makes this plant highly palatable for livestock. It is one of the major species of the tall grass prairie. Occasionally this plant is called turkeyfoot because when flowering, each seed head will have 3 or more branches resembling a turkey foot. The leaves will have hairs on the surface, helping in identification. Big bluestem is very nutritious when green, but low in protein when brown or red. If you are cutting it for hay, cut when it's flowering for better nutritional value. Side oats grama is highly distinguishable by its widespread seed heads with seeds dropping to one side of the stalk. It is the only plant to have seed heads on one side. This warm-season grass produces lots of leafy, nutritious forage, making it highly palatable and desirable. It grows in small patches, but establishes well from seed. False boneset is a native forb that is a part of the original native prairie ecosystem. It is undesirable to livestock as a form of feed, but very important to birds and wildlife. This forb is recognizable with its pale yellow to white colored flowers with paired, lanced leaves. The purple coneflower is a perennial native plant distinguishable by its purple flower petals around a black center. The stems are covered with short, stiff hairs, and leaves feel like sandpaper to the touch. It is important to have purple coneflower in your pasture to add diversity. The root of this plant can be used as an herbal numbing agent. Woolly verbena gets its name because the leaves are woolly to the touch. It contains purple or blue flower stalks when in full bloom. This perennial forb can be identified with serrated leaves on opposite sides of the stem. Woolly verbena will increase with overgrazing by livestock. Scarlet globe mallow gets its name from the orange to scarlet red flowers during bloom. This perennial native forb has 3-part leaves and a taproot. Scarlet globe mallow is seldomly grazed by livestock but loved by deer and antelope. In South Dakota, this plant is more commonly found in the western part of the state. The short plant adds diversity to the rangeland. Prairie coneflower is highly distinguishable by its yellow drooping petals with chocolate brown or dark purple cylindrical centers during bloom. It's a wildflower forb that adds diversity to the rangeland. Missouri goldenrod has a golden-colored head with tall, straight, erect stems. This plant is not grazed much and is not an invasive weed. Leaves are rough with 3 ribs and are largest towards the base of the stem and decrease in size higher up on the stem. Dotted gayfeather gets its name because of its long purple flower stems appearing like feathers when in bloom. The skinny green leaves will have small puncture holes or dots on the bottom side. This forb is important for wildlife but not grazed much by livestock. Yucca is a widely recognized member of the cactus family with a large taproot connecting multiple plants underground. It is difficult to kill this plant because of its extensive root system. This perennial native range plant can typically be found on sandy soils. Yucca can stand 2 to 3 feet tall and will form a yellow flower in the center of the plant in late spring, which is loved by livestock, but they seldomly eat any other part of the plant. Western snowberry has pale green, oval-shaped leaves with smooth to wavy-toothed edges, dark brown stems, and white-colored berries. The leaves are on opposite sides of the stem. This native perennial is found widely in the northern Great Plains region. Western snowberry can also be called buckbrush. Deer and wildlife enjoy this shrub and will sometimes strip snowberry of its leaves and leave only the stem standing. Utilization by livestock varies widely. Lead plant is a highly desirable and palatable shrub that is not very abundant in a pasture because it's easy to graze out. If you have some in a pasture, it is a sign of good range management. Lead plant has compound leaves which are gray-green in color, covered with dense short hairs. This native legume is loved by livestock and wildlife species.